Good morning, everyone. So it's Friday, about 6 o'clock in the morning here. And this is just going to be a hopefully quick stream just to welcome Greg, welcome Liam. Um, Fortunately, of course, we lost Dennis and Chris from the league this week. Um, so Greg has taken over Dennis's team, and Liam has taken over Chris's team. Uh, just a little history I was just looking at. So for you guys, Greg will be the 33rd owner in our league's history. This course is going to be our 10th season, and Liam will be owner 34. As far as your guys' teams, and this isn't necessarily all the teams are this way, but Greg, you'll be the third owner of your franchise, and Liam will be the fourth owner of your franchise. And the difference between the two is in the very first season we had, Liam, your team, was originally owned by Wyatt Briggs, and somewhere during the beginning of the season, he just lost interest in it, and Efren Keenan took that team over, and that was in 2014, and he ran that all the way to 2000 through 2021, and then Chris took over in 22. Um, and Also, Efren won the league championship in 2020. Um, so our league has 16 teams, four divisions. Each division has a division winner, of course. All division winners make the playoffs, and then there's two wild cards, which are the two best records that didn't win a division. So once those six teams are slotted, then we have we call it the best of the rest tournament, which is the next six teams. And then the final four teams that don't qualify for either, unfortunately, are locked out. Um, but there is also an upside to them as well. I'll get to that. A little bit of history. You guys can learn more, of course. I don't want to spend too much time on history of the league, but the league started in 2014, which will, of course, make this our 10th season. So you guys are coming at a really, really cool time, I think. Um, the This will be a very celebrated year. 10 seasons is a big deal. At least I think it is. For something that I was not thinking would last more than 2 years. Um, but I love our league, and I think you'll find most people that love our league, and even the ones that are no longer in our league. I don't think many of them are going to say a bad word about the league. Just many of them have chosen to leave for whatever, burnout, or we've had some that just they have too many teams and they just chose not to pick our league. Our league, of course, is a keeper league, um, which means it's the design of our league is that you're running an NFL franchise, your NFL franchise. Um, so of course we keep players every year. It started out as 10, and we've kind of modified that. So this year was a 10 keeper year, and then next year will be a 5 keeper year, um, and then after that, so it goes this year's 10, then 5, and then it'll be 3 10s, and then 5, and then the process starts all over again. This way, it gives you the opportunity to build a team for a little bit, sustain, and then we can kind of do a little bit of a reset to help bring a balance. Because the goal is to everyone to have an opportunity to win. Um, and I'll get into more stuff. So, like I said, we have four divisions. I went into the playoffs, I think, already. Did the keepers. As far as for the keepers, so you're, like I said, you're allowed to keep anyone you want. Um, um, but it's only going to be 10, and then next year will be 5. So sometimes you got to be strategic with what you got. Your lineups, we have a 23-man roster. Your lineup consists of one quarterback as far as what your starting lineup. You start one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, one kicker, one team defense, one defensive lineman, one linebacker, uh, one defensive back, and then one flex position on offense, which can be anything, or well, it can't be anything. The flex position on offense is either a receiver, running back, or tight end. Those are your options. And flex for defense is either defensive lineman, linebacker, defensive back. I can tell you, as far as individual defensive players, just a little food for thought here. Um, Linebackers will get you the most points overall. Um, Defensive backs are second, and then defensive linemen are third. And as far as the defensive backs, and this isn't necessarily, there are some that, like Sauce Gardner had a really good year last year. Um, but safeties will get you more points than cornerbacks as a majority. Again, there are exceptions. And then with linebackers, um, I'd say your middle linebackers will get you more points um, than your outside linebackers. It comes down to a tackling thing, really. And as far as defensive linemen, your defensive ends will get you more points than defensive tackles. And again, there are exceptions to every rule. Um, the only limit we have is quarterback. Um, Last year we had voted to only have one quarterback on your roster. Previously it was three. Prior to last year, you could have three quarterbacks, but only two of them could be starters. There was a rookie exemption, but that's all behind us. There's no point really in getting into that. But this year we changed it, and you're allowed to have two quarterbacks on your roster. Um, Now you are also allotted 5 IR slots, and I'll get into some of that with you guys personally off stream. It gets a little complicated sometimes with some of the IR stuff, but um, so for example, let's say you have a quarterback, they get hurt, they go on IR. Um, so then, of course, you're allowed to pick up another quarterback. When I say you're only allowed to have two quarterbacks, you're only allowed to have two active quarterbacks. So in theory, you could have 5 quarterbacks on IR. But again, you can only have two then active. So when they're on IR, they're not allowed. You're not allowed to use them at all. And then when they come off injury, um, you either have to drop them or drop one of the other players, and you can insert them into a active player role. Let's see. Our league also has a Hall of Fame that was created in 2015. Um, every year we put in 9 um, active modern era players. These players, the only rule, they have to actually be retired, but once they retire, they're automatically eligible. The cutoff date is June 1st, so any player that retires after June 1st, so for example, this year's class is already locked in, will be announced in August. Um, and we put in 9 players. Like I said, there was a rule. The rule is they have to be retired, but they're eligible the second they retire. The other rule is they had to have been a part of our league. So, what I mean by that, any player that is eligible to be in our Hall of Fame that has played since 2014. So, if they had not played in 2014, they are not eligible. Um, and then we also put in one owner every year, and the owner is voted at the league meeting in the springtime by everyone. And so I'm excited to announce who our winner is um, in August, who the winner for the 2023 Hall of Fame vote was. But I do have an entire list of all our Hall of Fame classes. Um, it's just something cool I like to put together. Um, as far as trading goes, it's trading. I guess I always call it phase 1, phase 2. Technically, I guess there is a phase 3. So phase 1 starts. So phase 1 starts at the meeting. It's announced during the meeting that trading is open. When that happens, you're allowed to trade anything and everything. So if you want to trade 10 players um, and a draft pick for the first overall pick, you can do that. Um, The only rule with trading in phase one is if you trade draft picks, um, you have to have the equal amount of draft picks going back. What I mean by that is if you trade, for example, let's say you trade the first overall pick. Greg, let's say you trade the first overall pick to Liam. You have to make sure that you're getting a draft pick in return. So even if that's the last pick in the draft, and the reason is it all comes down to an equal balance thing. When I go to put everything in, if one team has 24 players and the other one has 22, it will not let me start the season. Um, so that's why that goes on. So that's phase one. So phase one is at the meeting to June 1st. June 1st is the deadline for the keepers. Um, when I announce the keepers, which is usually a day or two later, um, then the trading opens back up, and that's up into the draft. And that one you can trade. You have 10 players at that point, but what you're going to do is say, okay, I'm going to. So Greg, you have, let's say you say, hey Liam, I'll trade you quarterback Josh Allen for your first round pick, straight up. You can do that. And the reason you can do that is because yes, you're going to have one less player, and he's going to have one more player, but he's going to have one less draft pick. You're going to have one more draft pick. It all equals out that way. If you say, hey, I'll trade you Josh Allen um, and a pick for uh, one of your players, that doesn't work because then he's gonna have one more draft pick and you're gonna be short. So everything has to equal out. Um, and anytime anyone does a trade, it has to come to me, and then so I can verify everything, and I also confirm with the other party. Um, what I mean that I said earlier, there could be a phase three. Phase three is after the draft. So after the draft, everything is done online. I am not a part of it at all. The only time I would be a part of it is the one thing in our league we are allowed to trade future draft picks. So if you said I'm going to trade Liam a 2024 and a 2025 draft pick, and I'm getting this 24 and 25 draft pick back, I have to know about that offline. The system, once the season starts, um, the system will do 24. I'm sorry, I don't need to know the 24. I need to know the 25. So the system will record 24, but I have to record 25 offline. Or any other fee. If you want to go 26, 27, you can go as far as you want, really. Um, and then I don't remember offhand. It's sometime in November. The trade deadline will stop. So when the trade deadline hits in November, whichever week it is, um, and I can look that up here, but whenever date that is, um, then there's no trading until the meeting, um, which of course is our off season. Um, so I'll get into scoring. I'll get to scoring last, actually. So as far as our off season with the league meeting, the meeting takes place typically end of. It's kind of changed more. It's either the end of March, early April, somewhere in there. Sorry. One thing I discovered is try to. I gotta try not to do it. I gotta try to watch when the spring break is. We have a couple of educators in our league, and we have some that also have kids that are still in school. So spring break is not a great time to do one. I learned that this year. So the next year I'll probably have it somewhere just before the week before spring break, or maybe even the week after. And that date, the meeting date, is announced the day of, or actually at the draft. Um, Also, our league has what's called the draft lottery. So the 10 teams that didn't qualify for the championship playoff are put into a bin, and depending on or based on how you finished depends on how many Easter eggs you get. So the team that had the worst record gets the most, all the way down to the 10 gets just like a couple. And this is only for the first round. It doesn't impact. So our drafts are straight. So if you have the worst record, you have the first overall pick in every single round except the first round. You're not guaranteed the first overall pick. Um, and it's just a way to spice up things, and it keeps people honest to make sure we're, try not to get people tanking. Not that people are, but it's a preventative measure for that. But the lotto's pretty cool. I think it's fun. And then we also have every we have a vote. We'll vote on different topics. Anyone can submit a topic to me, send it to me, and then what I do is a month prior to the league meeting, I will do a stream like this, and I will go over every single thing on the ballot, all the votes, all the voting categories. So this way you have a month to think about every category if you want. Um, and majority rules. So uh, all you need is 9 votes to pass something. So if 9 teams say yes, then it passes. If it's a dead heat, 8-8, it's a push, and it remains as it was, um, whatever that category was. Um, what else do we got here? Scoring. So the app. So most of what you're going to do is going to be on an app, unless you want to do it on the computer. Either way works. Um, so what you do is you go take your phone, and then you're going to hit the Yahoo Fantasy um, app. And then what you can do is go into, and I don't know if now this, I guess I don't know because I'm the commissioner, so I don't know if this shows up on everyone, but let's just say I'm just guessing it does. So at the very top of the home screen, it'll say transactions, draft, league chat, and tools. If you click on tools, then you'll see league settings, edit team info, commissioner tools, edit draft time. So you click on league settings. When you do that, it'll say scoring and settings. And all you got to do is just scroll down. It'll tell you all our roster positions. It'll tell you, and then it goes into the scoring. So on offense, for example, um, our passing. So you get a point for every completion. You get a point for every yard thrown for. 25 points for a touchdown, negative 25 for an interception, um, 20 if you get sacked, and then rushing yards 1 point per yard, 25 for a touchdown. Receptions, you get a point per reception, point for every yard, um, and then 25 for touchdowns. 25 for touchdowns is across the board, just so you know. And then we also have, so with quarterbacks, there's a bonus one. You get 5 points if the quarterback throws for 5 additional points if he throws for 300, 10 for 400, 15 for 500 plus. And then with the running backs, running backs and receivers. Oh, running backs are 5 for 100 yards rushing, 10 for 200, and 15 for 275. Um, and then receivers, it's 5 for 100, 10 for 200, and 15 for 300. Let's see what else we got here. 2-point conversions are worth 10 points. Fumbles lost are negative 12. Offensive fumble return for, like I said, all touchdowns are 25. Pick six thrown is negative 25. So, um, and then also here's another bonus. So if these are all universal. So a quarterback throws, receiver catches, running back runs. If they get a 40 plus yard run, it's worth 6 points. If they get a 40 plus yard run that's a scoring touchdown, it's 12 additional points, which actually does combine. So if it's a touchdown, you're actually getting 18. And a lot of this stuff I can't control. Some of this stuff Yahoo lets us customize it, but some of that stuff actually gets put together, grouped together by Yahoo. I mean, there's a lot of things I can't trust me. These guys pick on me. It's like, oh, if I could allow offensive linemen, I would be having offensive linemen as a draft category. Um, but unfortunately, that's not a category. You get points for first downs, the field goals, the way they work. Um, so everything is 0 to 19 yard field goal is worth 19. 20 to 29 is worth 29. 39, 49, so forth. And then they reverse on misses. So if you have a field goal that's missed that was a 50-yard field goal, you won't lose 50 points. Um, on a missed 50-yard, you only lose negative 19. But if you miss a 0 to 19-yard kick, then you lose 50 points. It just has to do with obviously ease of kick. That's why. Because I remember there was one game where I was watching, and it was the Eagles, and the Eagles sent out their field goal kicker at halftime or just before halftime to try like a 65-yard kick, and he missed it. And I'm like, why should that person lose 50 points because they're doing that? That's just like it's like a Hail Mary almost. Um, and a 50-yard field goal in theory is much more difficult than I mean they should make a 19-yard field goal. They should get punished for not making a 19-yard field goal. Um, get points obviously for extra points or missed extra points they lose. Now defense. So the defensive categories, it's very similar to the offensive where they're negatives, except these are positives. So with sack, so if they sack, you get 20 points for a sack, 25 interception, um, 25 for a safety, block kick 25, um, and so forth. They get points for tackles and assisted tackles as well. They're obviously less for assisted tackles. Um, there's one if you ever look at this, you'll be like, oh my god. So and the likelihood of this ever happening is never. But we actually have one in here, and I think it was Guy, a former owner of ours named Guy, who unfortunately you guys will hear a lot about Guy in our league, especially at the draft. We lost Guy. Guy actually passed away in December. Uh, Former league champion. He was actually in the finals when he passed away, unfortunately. If you go back and watch any of the streams, you'll see a lot of Guy in these streams. He was a very good friend and great part of our league. Really helped build and shape our league. So, but he came up with this. So we have defensive yards allowed. If a team, this is a team defense. If a team defense, so let's say the Lions. Let's say the Lions are playing the Bears, and they hold the Bears to negative 1 yard for the entire game. So the Bears end up with negative yardage for the entire game. You will get 2,000 points. Now, the funny thing about this is sometimes, because when you're playing your game, or when the games are going on, your points will go up and down based on projections. Um, so sometimes they'll actually, for a very brief moment, you'll have like 2,000 points in that category. They only happen the very, very start of the game. Typically, obviously, a safety happen at the first play or whatever, something like that, and they very quickly go away. Um, but it's just a cool thing that, like I said, it will never happen. And if it does, hey, they deserve 2,000 points. Um, so yeah, so that's that. Other cool things you can do with the app. You go back to the main homepage. You click on My Team. Now, I won't show anything right now, but this is where you would put your lineup in, or move players into um, IR. If you click on the matchup button, this is for when you're playing someone. I do all the schedules, by the way, myself. You will always play your division, who's ever in your division, which for both of you happen to be in the same division. They're in the Eastern Division. Uh, it's you two, myself, and Jimmy Chase, who's an original charter member. Like I said, we have 16 teams. Of the 16, we are now down to 5 original members from 2014. Um, but then we also have a couple like Nick Ergang. He joined in 2015. He originally was supposed to be in 2014. Unfortunately, he, for whatever reason, didn't get my text message that year. or for that, and maybe I didn't send it right. Who knows? But he joined 2015. There was someone else that joined 2015 that's still with us. So for the most part, we have guys that stay around for a long, long time. Um, so matchup will show that will be when your lineup is in and when their lineup is in. You can view how your team is doing against them. If you click on the players one, this will show everyone that's available. That's for your free agents. So that's that. That's the app. So I think I covered pretty much everything I can think of. Like I said, and Liam, in your case, you got your dad and your sister to lean on. If you have any quick questions, they can help you with that if you want to talk to them. And then in Greg's case, we'll talk more when I see you next. And of course, I can cover whatever questions we have with the draft. The draft is going to be August 19th at 6 p.m. It'll be right here, or you can do it on a stream as well. The draft, I provide everything that you need. You can bring whatever you want, of course, but you'll have a draft guide. We'll show you everyone available in our draft. Um, we have one of our guys, Tony. He smokes pork, so we do pulled pork sandwiches. It's a really good time. You'll find that the draft is probably the best part of this entire league. And like I said, I don't want to make this too long. I think I'm at about a half hour here, but um, so yeah, I'm gonna end it now. But like I said, welcome to the league, and I hope you enjoyed the experience of the AFL Fantasy Football League, and we're glad to have you. And like I said, we'll talk real soon. Um, so yeah, with that, take care, and any questions, let me know. All right, bye bye.